Miss Marie Bass Barton was our principal. She was just awesome. I really admired her. She spoke so eloquently. She was involved in the community. People had the highest respect for her. She was, she could be a disciplinarian, but she was fair. And I really admired her tremendously.
She was strict. She didn't play around. She wants you to get your education. She was there for you to make sure you got your education. She's tried to save as many of us as she could because she loved all of us.
Miss Martin, she was our principal back then, and everybody was scared of her, including me, because she didn't play. If you misbehave at school, you got a paddle, and she would do it. And I can remember one time our whole class had done something wrong. I don't know what it was. We had to go to the cafeteria and line up on the stage, and she had this rubber scrap that she would, hit you one or two times with it. And I said to myself, she better not hit me. But by the time she got to me, she was done.
Miss Bond was the type person what people either loved her or they couldn't stand her. It wasn't no in between. I tell you a cute story. Me and my neighbors, about 7, 8 of us, used to walk together to school. We never was on time. Miss Martin used to get at us about being late, 'cause 8 o'clock you supposed to be in your room and all that. Miss Martin had told us, she said, if y'all late anymore, I'm going to spank all of you, 'cause back then, teachers and principals can whoop children. And so she said, all of you going to go under the power. So we were late. Miss Martin called us all down. She said, all of you come down here. So we came down there. She said, all of you go in my office. And my brother called. She said, Carl McCray, what you looking at? He said, I know we late, Miss Martin and all. He said, but have you lost weight? And Miss Martin, she went to switch it and turned around. She said, can you tell Carl? Carl said, Miss Martin, I know we late and stuff, but it looked like you have lost some weight. So Miss Martin said, I thought I had lost some too, Carl. You can tell. Carl said, yes, I can tell you have lost some weight. So she said, y'all go to your class, and this is going to be the last time I tell y'all to do it. So we didn't get no spanking that day. So I said, Carl, that woman ain't lost no weight. He said, are you going to class or you getting whooped? She pressed around all day, I believe, that day. Everybody was happy with her that day.
She was authoritarian to the maximum. Definitely no nonsense. She had this booming voice. And when you say, get out of my hallway, you knew to get out of her hallway. She owned the building. She owned the school. And she would sit there. Okay, you people, get to your classroom. And she had this tight look. She didn't smile. And you knew she meant business. And I respected her. She was a good administrator, if you will.
We had a good faculty because Mrs. Martin actively went out searching for people to come there to work, and I think she found people who were well trained and good teachers, and she brought us all together. Because the Jacksons, they worked there, and they were well trained people, extremely articulate, very smart people, and obviously could have, had it worked at advanced places if they wanted to. The McCrae's, Mr. McCarter was an advanced degree person. Um, Mrs. Jones, she had a PhD. They could have been teaching at advanced educational institutions. And I think her recruiting, calling, getting people to come into Madison who had never been to Madison, to move to Madison and elevate the population. Her ability to bring people to a small town in middle Georgia, in the South, In 1960 something, when people were fleeing the South, I mean, the black migration to the big cities of Chicago, New York, Baltimore, everywhere, anywhere, just get me out of here. But they came here. And you have to wonder, how did she do that? It really had a big influence on me, I think, because I saw all of these people who had succeeded, right, in their pursuit of these educations that they had.
In high school, my favorite teacher probably was Miss Beatrice Jones. She was a science teacher. She was very good. I mean, she too was firm in her class and wanted the best and made sure that we got the best. But she was a very loving person.
Miss Jones, well, she was a sweet lady. A sweet lady. She would tell you from the bat, I know what you can do. I know you can do better. I got a grade in her room, and I thought it was fairly good, like a 80 or something. She would even give you opportunity to do the test over because she knew that you could do better. And I took another test, and I got, well, I guess it's like a 99 plus. She says, oh, so you got a 99 plus, which is way better than 100. She knew that you could do better.
We had some teachers just showed more interest than others to the students and about what the students learned. My science teacher was my favorite teacher. I liked the way he taught it, what he was saying, and it was something that I wanted to know. You know, and we hadn't been taught some of the stuff he was teaching. Can't That name won't pop in, like still hadn't popped in, but I can just see him. He was from Atlanta, but he did a good job of making you think he wanted you to learn, and that was important to me.
Well, there were limits because of the times that we were in. It was still the civil rights movement. The limits were, first of all, we didn't have access to all of the materials and things that we needed. Um, However, at that time, we probably didn't know what we were missing because it was not openly and verbally stated. And I think that's where the teachers came in. They knew, and they knew what the limits were. So they were also preparing us for what the future uh, would hold, not knowing where we would end up, not knowing where we would go, but to guide us and lead us in the right direction, which was a task.
Mr. McCrae was a no nonsense, uh, very jovial. Uh, he taught us, and at least I got from him, to think critically about all parts of your life, not just schoolwork, but when you walk out that door, when you walk down home, when you're going down the street, be mindful of your surroundings, even. And that's the first time I've heard that. I never thought about it. I'm thinking, well, you should be okay no matter where you are. But he's like, no, you need to be mindful of your surroundings. Be prepared. Be prepared to run away or defend yourself, whatever you need to do. Because if you look, you can see it before it happens. I didn't know it then, but deep down, it resonated with me.
We call him Pop McCray. We call him Pops because he was very intelligent. I mean, you could ask him anything and he would have an answer. He taught his class without a book, so that impressed me. And he would always tell us when he gave us an exam. Most teachers stayed in the room. He would leave the room. He said, "I know you're gonna cheat anyway, so I'm going out."
Mrs. Clark, she was another big influence for me. She had asked a question. I took typing class with her, and she had asked a question: "What do you want to do when you get out of school?" That question was rarely asked. I said, I want to do computers. I didn't know what that meant. And this just before I knew what IBM or anything, internet, that's before anything. But I knew that I wanted to do something with the machines, with the new, because it was a new. We would hear about it in high school, but never did see one. I wanted to do computers, and I ended up doing that and retired from IBM.
We used to have physical education, but Mr. Barnhart had to teach everybody, the boys and the girls, in physical education. It was just one gym. So what happened is the girls, that was our time out session because we didn't do nothing in for physical education. And the boys, they used to be down on the floor playing basketball, throwing the ball and all that. And so we were just there. And I'll never will forget Mr. Barnhart came up. He said, he said, you pray long enough, you pray hard enough, you get to the point where you say, well, the Lord ain't answering my prayer. He said, but guess what, y'all? He said, God answered my prayer. And we were sitting there wondering, what were you talking about? And he said that, ladies, you all have your own physical ed teacher, and it was Miss Murray, the band leader, wife. And when she came to Miss Murray, she was like, she had a nice build and stuff. She was, like I say, about the color Miss Marno. But when she came in, she told us that we were going to have to dress out every day. We were gonna be taking exercise. She didn't want to hear nothing about your. She said, I done heard of cycles and all this stuff. She said, I know about them. She said, I still have them myself. She said, that is not an excuse. She said, except for fever, you gonna exercise. And we had to dress out. We was doing soccer. We was kicking balls and playing square dances. And she had us doing real exercise. And we were having real gym classes. And then we found out Mr. Barnhart, he made the boys start doing stuff. We found out he did know physical education.
I love the shop because I love the beer. Mr. Jackson, he was like more closer to our age. We go to him and he build stuff and everybody like to build stuff. He had little houses he built. And we take classes building houses, like on Jackson Street. All them little apartments right there, time you come in on Jackson Street, we built them. That's how we learned. We were getting our grades from learning how to build. When we go to him for class, we outside. If rainy days, bad days, or cold in the winter, we worked in the shop. He had the saws and stuff, and we built monitors and all that kind of stuff. We love to go to his class because it was like a reset. But you be learning stuff, it wasn't that sitting up in the class and learn how to spell and all that. And he teach you how to run the saws, and we were building cabinets and all kind of stuff. And we were building stuff for the school. Some teacher in there said, I need a cabinet, I need a desk. He built it, and set them in the classroom and stuff. So that's what we did. So that's how I got into carpenter work.
I was on the basketball team when we first started playing basketball. We was playing on dirt. It was a bunch of red clay.
They had a court outside and it was marked off red dirt, but then they had it marked off in lines.
We still was having fun because that's all we knew. And then we got a gym.
When we seen that gym going up out there, boy, and it was on then. We just knew. We loved it. Cause our boys, they played hard too. When they got in that gym, they was good basketball players playing on dirt and stuff, but after they got in that gym though, it seemed like they turning up another notch then.
The black community built that gym. I mean, they raised the money, and we had fish fries and chicken dinners and all the repairs that was done at Pearl High. We raised money, and the black community raised money for all of that.
When I went to school, my mother made me wear a hat to school, especially during the winter when it was cold. But there was a kid there at Bernie Street. He wasn't in my class, he was in my grade. But he made it his business to find me every day at recess to take my hat. And it bothered me to no end. And I mean, this had gone on probably for about a week. And I didn't tell anybody about it. I was really afraid to tell the teacher what was going on. But thinking about it when I was home, uh, I made a decision that I was going to deal with that situation. And, you know, maybe if I got in trouble, somebody would help me out. But he was either going to beat up on me that day or I was going to return the favor to him. And so that particular day, I was driven to the point that when I saw him start toward me, I started toward him. And I did my best to catch him. I never caught him, and he never bothered me again. But I will never forget that. And I remember his name too, and I'm not going to tell that here today.
There was a career day where uh, people were encouraged to go out and, if they had an idea about what they wanted to do in the future, sort of talk to people and then come in and sort of have a little skit as to what you were going to do. So I went and talked to Dr. Lewis because I was real impressed by him. And he and I are still sort of friends today, even though I haven't seen him in years, and I really love to see him. And he gave me one of his smocks and a stethoscope. And so I was able to wear that to the career day thing. And he never gave me any indication that I could not do what I wanted to do. I think he was encouraging of me to be what I wanted to be. And I think that meant a lot to me. I remember him seeing me whenever I was sick or giving me my immunization shots and things like that. And he was always very friendly, always easy to approach. And I would always ask him questions about things, just, how does this work? Or, what do you hear with this thing? But I, I think was very open to the idea of me pursuing what I was wanting to be. And when I told him that, I mean, he readily gave me one of the smocks and readily gave me a stethoscope. At the time, for a little kid, that's a huge deal. So I was excited. Yeah, it was like a little skit that we did on stage somewhere in the school, and I would have somebody sit there and I'd listen to him, and I'd give him a bottle with some pills in it, fake pills or whatever, aspirin or something.
I remember reciting a poem over there when we moved to Pearl Street. I had to learn this poem. The name of the poem was Footprint on the Sands of Time. Went through the whole poem without making a mistake. Yeah. The only mistake I made was I couldn't find my way back through the curtains. Sometimes I think about that footprint on the sands of time, because all of us got a story to tell. We look back over time, you'd be wondering, I got this for